Welcome to the Woke News Report podcast. My name is Paul. I am the founder of Woke News Report and also the creator of Woke Board Game, which you can find more information about at wokeboardgame.com. We're going to talk really quickly about the border. Title 42 set to be canceled tomorrow by the Biden administration. Ostensibly was there to stop immigrants from coming in during the COVID era. It was a CDC kind of thing. And for those that trust the science and CDC, it just meant that you could be bringing something over the border that was deadly, such as COVID. So it was implemented, and there was a lot of arguments and debates, and there was a lot of things going on at the time. A lot of lawsuits, judgments. It went to court several times, but ultimately it withheld until tomorrow, which is when Biden decides, okay, it's over, it's done, it's 2023. Let's just let a flood of 150,000 more people come in. And that's what's going to happen. The border is going to be flooded. But all of a sudden, in the last minute twist, the Biden administration decides to, quote unquote, revive Trump-era border policy. Now, this is exact, but not exactly. And this is a Zero Hedge article. And so let's just open it up and see what it kind of has to say. And actually, you know what? If you want to go to Zero Hedge and read this, just go ahead and go to Zero Hedge and read this, because there's one part of this article that interests me more than any other part. And one thing you have to remember, I always say that woke is a top-down system that people in power use in order to depopulate. You could choose the 30 things that they use. The left used to be against the war, any war whatsoever. How did the 1960s happen? In the sense that we were in Vietnam and there was the greatest outcry of all time against the Vietnam War by the hippies, the left, the people that were not in power or anything else. I move into the 70s, and Paul Ehrlich decides that there's too many people on the planet, despite the fact that because of the war and previous wars, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people had been killed. Well, they ignored all that and still kept up with the idea that there's too many people on the planet and we have to kill some more. So keep that in mind as I continue to scroll down. We may later in the video scroll up and read some of this, but this is what I found really, really interesting. So 100, it says here, 150 migrants wanting to cross the into the United States this week have been compared to Jews fleeing Nazi Germany, with the implication, of course, being that only Nazis would oppose letting illegals into the country. It's astounding to me, because I was thinking earlier about this Title 42 situation. What has America and the West ostensibly done with Russia? Started boxing Russia in for a long time, and I know people are going to come and go, he's a Russian bot, he's a Russian informant, he's a Russian agent or whatever. No, I just think clearly about this stuff because I read it and pay attention. You start boxing Russia in, and all of a sudden, Russia is in a war. It wasn't like the guy didn't say, if you keep this up, I'm not going to invade. 60 Minutes, actually. A whole segment years before. I think Trump was in office at the time. Somewhere around the mid-Trump era, Putin was on there saying, this is what NATO is doing. This is how they're doing it. And ultimately, meaning once Trump is not in office, ultimately, we're not going to stand for it. Now, they didn't do anything while Trump was there, obviously, but now you've got this guy that can't read a teleprompter, and he falls off the stage. He literally can't get off a stage for wondering which way he has to go, left, right, what happened, like there's all kinds of videos of this guy. And Putin goes, okay, we're just not going to take this anymore. We've been encroached 1,000 times, and now's our time to go ahead and do what we're going to do. So they invade Ukraine, and what happens? Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people flood out of the war zone and into other countries. Now keep up here. I mean, this is kind of out of the spectrum of what you'll naturally hear on television, news, other commentators, or anything else. You've got hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, because of a war, flee a country and go to other countries. Well, the other countries don't necessarily have an open border, right? But what do the other countries in the West have? They pretty much have a take in the refugee policy, right? They take in refugees. Well, America, we're surrounded by two borders. We've got the one to the south, the one to the north. The one to the north is Canada. Not a lot of refugees coming from Canada. But there's at least a few people that want to get out of their situation, for lack of a better term, in the south. Guatemala, Colombia, wherever. Up through Mexico. So to say that the woke people don't view the people coming in from Mexico, the illegals crossing the border and ending Title 42, to say they don't see those people as quote-unquote refugees is a mistake. Because this is virtue signaling the rest of the world. Look at us. We're America. We're taking in refugees too. That's all it is. That's all it is. In a sense, it's not all it is. I'm going to explain what the rest of it is. But you have the West threatening Russia for years. Years this has been going on. NATO, encroachment, coming up against the border of Russia, using Ukraine, the whole nine yards. As soon as Donald Trump is out of office, as soon as he's gone, they're like, okay, now's our time. If we're not going to do it, we're never going to do it. We might as well go ahead and do it now, because look at this. Look at the guy that we have in office, right? So they go and they just go ahead into war. The war's been going on for a year or so. Hundreds of thousands of people have had to flee Ukraine. And where do they go? They go to other countries over in the West, Germany, wherever, England, Italy. They're going places as refugees of a war. American people on the left, the woke, they have to frame this in some way, and the way that they frame it is not they're refugees, though that's how they exactly think about it. How they frame it is 150 migrants waiting to cross into the United States this week have been compared to Jews fleeing Nazi Germany. It's crazy. It's literally crazy to think that this is how people, according to the international training documents, internal training documents, only migrants with exceptionally compelling circumstances will be able to overcome the rules asylum bar. They're refugees. That's how the left and the woke see it, refugees. Now, this is where they really get it wrong, though. I had a video a couple of days ago, maybe it might have been a week ago, that talked about the border and the border crisis. Not specifically Title 42 ending, but the fact that there's so much fentanyl coming across. How many people die on the Mexican Trail of Tears? And if they didn't physically die, how many children have died due to the abuse that they have suffered while on the Mexican Trail of Tears to America? There's no telling. There's no telling. There was one child, like an 8-year-old child, with 69 or 68 DNA impressions from other men. You don't think that kills the spirit? You don't think that kills people? Woke, the top-down system people in power use in order to depopulate. Everybody's an individual, and that girl may have some chance later in life to really stand up and do things. There's a lot of people that come out of really bad circumstances that end up doing great things for humanity. But there is more than one way to, quote unquote, kill someone, and killing the spirit of a child like that. How many kids coming up through this, I can't even fathom it. I can't even think about it. But how many other people are just dying by the roadside, or getting killed, or getting slashed on their way the Mexican Trail of Tears to America? And you know this could be stopped. You know it could be stopped. But it doesn't stop there, because the next trail is the fentanyl trail. And in the video that I posted a couple of days ago, maybe a week ago or so, 70,000 people in 2022 died from fentanyl, primarily coming across the border from the south in Mexico. So to say that 150,000 migrants are waiting to cross, who are we talking about? Are we talking drug dealers? Child molesters? As Donald Trump said when he came down the escalator, rapists? Like, we don't know who these people are. What are they carrying? They carrying fentanyl, a lot of fentanyl. Fentanyl that killed 70,000 people in 2022. It could be possible that that's what they're carrying. It could be. But to compare them to Jews fleeing Nazi Germany, it just made me think, we created a war over there in Ukraine to destroy that country. It didn't need to happen. It should have never happened. We boxed in another superpower with nuclear power. They could literally shove off some bombs real quick, and the world would be in chaos. And they keep pushing it towards World War III. They keep trying and pushing and pushing and pushing. Which brings up also the idea that we spent, what, $150 billion, $200 billion to Ukraine? That's dollar figure. Not counting manpower and everything else. We're not the only country that has done it. That could have secured the border easily. I think Donald Trump was asking for $25 billion when he first came into office, or maybe he was running and he's like, we could secure their border for $25 billion. I don't know. The only thing I do know is woke is working very well. The plan for woke is working very well. A lot of people are going to die. A lot of people are going to be dying. For what? For what? Shut the border, right? These people here that are coming over, they're not refugees. we caused a refugee problem in the other countries over there. So now we have to show, and this is what this is about. If you missed the entire point of the video, this is what this is about. We have to show that we too take in refugees. These refugees may not be from a war that we caused in a foreign land like Ukraine. These refugees may not be fleeing from war-torn cities with bombs raining down and everything else. But our allies over there in England and Germany and other places have taken in hundreds of thousands of refugees from Ukraine. We can only do our part. We're America. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. If you like this, subscribe, like, tell your friends. Go to wokeboardgame.com. Check out that. wokenewsreport.com. Check out that. You can follow on Truth Social. You can follow on Twitter. Hook up on YouTube and or Rumble. And we'll see you next time.